with the New York Knicks. All right, let's go to Justin Termine, our main man, Sirius XM Radio with Eddie Johnson. I know he's enjoying the playoffs. I wonder if Eddie's enjoying the playoffs so far with the Phoenix Suns. Justin, man, long time no talk. How you doing, brother? Welcome to the Morning Roast again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I mean, today's about the easiest day you could possibly have to do a show right after what we saw last night.
Oh, my God. Was that one of the best double headers? Because we do want to talk some dubs here, and we're having a Steph Curry conversation, but Knicks, Sixers, Lakers, Nuggets coming back from 20. I mean, Ernie Johnson started inside the NBA. He opened inside the NBA by saying, that's the greatest doubleheader I think I've ever been a part of here at the station. What about you? And it's just the first round, but I can't recall a doubleheader like that.
No, I'm not even sure I can recall like one game, and I know you guys are spoiled out there with all the great games the Warriors played over the years, but we sometimes, I think, go postseasons without having like one game like we saw last night, and we actually had two of them. So, yeah, I can't recall in all my years seeing two on the same night that were as good as that.
Can we geek out for just a second? So it's like the reverse Reggie Miller Garden moment last night where they score a zillion points in a small amount of span. That inbound play, for the life of me, I don't understand. Bonte has been screaming, call the timeout. I agree with him, call the timeout. But once you start running baseline and that first guy is getting double teamed and they're not guarding the inbounder, you have an 85% free throw shooter in Tobias Harris, an 84% free throw shooter in Batum, and neither of them is looking for the ball. They're not cutting to the ball. They're not V-cutting. They're not moving. For the life of me, the entire sequence, I can't get over it, and they're going to have to wear that forever. That's one of the worst inbound plays I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to hear about it. And they did it in both games, right? You blew a 20-point lead in L.A. with the Lakers in Denver, but they're blaming the officials afterwards.
Yeah.
Same thing in Philadelphia. It's like, you had a 5-point lead with 30 seconds left, and you had timeouts to use. So, and Kyle Lowry's the one that inbounded the basketball as well. Like, that's a veteran. It's not just all on the head coach and Nick Nurse who's claiming he called the timeout. Like, Lowry should know in that spot that you call a timeout and you settle things down. It's like it's reminiscent of maybe going all the way back to 1987 where Isaiah Thomas, who's another veteran, smart player, and Isaiah throws the ball into Bird. Now, Bird had to make a great play there, but with this one, it was almost like they just fumbled it. Nobody even had to make a great play. It was all on Philadelphia to kind of just, dribble, to just stumble around with the basketball and give them an opportunity. And then on top of that, you get the offensive rebound. So they didn't do their job on multiple fronts.
I mean, Lowry flopped on the final DiVincenzo 3 after not calling it. I was just like, call the timeout, Lowry. You've been in that position. Maxi's running to the corner. He's going to get trapped. Call the timeout. But what do you make of the officials? Because now we're hearing everybody. My boy Kyle Draper does a pre- and post-game show for the Sacramento Kings. He was saying that the NBA is unwatchable because of all the physicality. You had LeBron James crying last night, D'Angelo Russell crying last night, and that's the Lakers' way. They never take accountability. They were up 20, but they've always got to throw somebody up under the bus. And then you got the Sixers complaining about the referees. But how do you think the officials are doing? Because I like this physicality. This is bringing me back to the 90s. There were too many, Justin, 140, 137 games. It was too just up and down AAU pickup basketball. Give me some physicality. These are the damn playoffs. Let's get tough. Let's get rough. And now these guys are complaining about it. But what is your takeaway with the officials and the way they're officiating these games?
Draper and the media is complaining about it. Like, I could see the players complaining about it a little bit, but like, I think the diehard fan absolutely loves this. And I loved it dating back to like maybe the All-Star break in the regular season where it changed a little bit, because when you get more physicality, it makes you feel like the guys care a little bit more. At least that's from my perspective. And, you love like some of the high scoring, but we don't need all the games to be that way. So I prefer the physicality, and I'd rather watch a playoff game where they're allowed, maybe they miss a call or two, but they're allowing stuff, compared to where it's just one whistle after another and guys getting to the free throw line. That's not the type of basketball I want to watch. So I absolutely love the fact that these officials are swallowing the whistle and allowing a lot of extra physicality.
Bonte and I have been talking about this morning, especially after a weekend of games, last night's games. Boy, it feels like the Warriors are far away. I mean, really far away. Where do you view them in the hierarchy of the NBA and in the Western Conference?
Yeah, I mean, the plus is you have still one of the top 5 to 10 players in the sport, and I would say 5 to 7, maybe even higher than that. So that's not many teams, things many teams have. So you still have that piece. Now, obviously, he's a little bit older, and you got to make difficult decisions. And I also don't know what you could use in order to put pieces around him because, you could go – I would go the route of maybe the Celtics there in 2013, and I've heard other people bring this up, and even Memphis did it with Mike Conley and Gasol, where they blew it up and they were able to get assets in return and then make a quick bounce back. Boston, as a result of that trade, is competing for championships now and will for the foreseeable future. But Klay, even if you were to deal him, he's a free agent. I'm not sure you get much. Draymond, nobody's going to want. Andrew Wiggins, to me, doesn't really hold much value. I don't know what you guys think they could get for Andrew Wiggins. I don't think it's much. You might even have to attach an asset to it. So really the only piece that you have is Steph. So you have that piece that you need to win a championship. I'm just not sure that you have any of the other pieces, unfortunately.
Yeah, it feels like they're a lot farther than contending with the Denver Nuggets, the Minnesota T-Wolves, the OKCs of the world, because the Grizzlies, the Spurs, the Rockets, they're coming. They're coming in the rear. Wemby's a problem here. What do you think about Klay, though? Where do you think he's playing next season, Justin? Because I don't know if the Warriors are going to try to bring back the big three. You didn't make the playoffs this year. You think Klay's actually moving on? What are you hearing out there?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he wants to stay from everybody that I talk to, and I'd love to see him stay because I do miss that about the league, right? Guys just staying together, for their full careers. I loved it when the big three in Boston did it with Bird, McHale, and Parrish. You like to see these guys retire together, even if it costs you maybe one championship. But I don't know what the feeling is for you guys as fans. Would it be worth maybe one less championship if it was just Steph staying and you had to get rid of Klay and Draymond? I almost like the idea of, hey, one less championship, but they play their entire careers in one uniform. I think Klay would probably be better off from a basketball perspective going just to get a fresh start and clear his head because he'll be viewed as a completely different player. Maybe a place like Orlando would be nice for him with an up-and-coming team, and you see they can't shoot. So he'd get plenty of playing time, and he'd be their main guy down there essentially for buckets. So I'd like to see him stay, but I think for the benefit of maybe his mental health, probably better moving on.
Justin, I mean, it's been a wild ride with Klay Thompson on these phone lines, and it is mixed feelings. I hate kicking the four-time champ down. I'm a Klay stan. I thought he played well since the All-Star break, shooting 41% from three and 45% from the floor. The Orlando thing has been out there for so long. They could get him, or what about Philadelphia? They need shooting. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, that's another place. I think their first target's going to be Paul George. Let me just also say that I love Klay Thompson. In dealing with all the athletes, and this is typically when you get sick of the champions, right? A team that's on top. I never got sick of Golden State just because the organization's complete class across the board, including Steph and Klay, who I think are the easiest two superstars to deal with. So I never could root against them, even though they kept having success. And I don't know if people out there are blaming Klay for missing the postseason. I said it on my show. It's not his fault. It's Draymond's fault because he's the guy that missed 15 to 20 games. And if he didn't miss 15 to 20 games, you guys would have been the top 6 seed. So to me, I'm pointing the finger at Draymond for 2 consecutive seasons for sabotaging basically the year.
Wow. Jonathan Kuminga. I mean, we just went through this with Jordan Poole where you see flashes and sustainability over a month or 2 months or whatever of excellent play. But, man, having to jump up and pay the guy $30 million a year after what ended up happening to Jordan Poole, I know it's not even fair to do that to Kuminga, to do the transitive property thing, but I would have a difficult time paying him $30 million. And I understand there's a business aspect. Would you pay him $30 million a year, or would you move him if you were the Warriors to get something back?
Yeah, I'd say, if you're going to go with Steph and keep him, then you're going to have to move him if the goal is to compete, because he might be a nice player, but he's not ready to compete for champions. Is he a number 2 on a championship, a number 3? I don't think so. Look what you saw from Denver last night. Is he capable of even doing what Aaron Gordon's doing? And Gordon's probably their 4th guy behind Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., and I don't think he is. And plus, as great as Steph is, and certainly a top, 10 to 12 player in the history of the sport, as of right now, is he Jokic? Jokic is a better player than him right now, so you're going to have your number 1 guy in Steph, who's not as good as Denver's number 1 guy. Then you're going to have your number 2 guy or 3 guy in Kuminga, who really won't even be the 4th guy on Denver, and that's who you're competing against for a championship. So I would say you probably, don't want to give him that money, but you also got to see what you can get for him. You don't want to give him up for free. And they got a lot of bad, again, the Draymond contract to me is bad. only because nobody else would take him. And then the Wiggins contract is bad because nobody's going to want him. Do you want a third contract that really you can't get rid of?
Wow, you're speaking nothing but facts here. Justin Termine, Sirius XM NBA Radio with Eddie Johnson, our main man, Eddie Johnson. We'll get him on the show soon as the Suns have a big game tonight in Minnesota. They're trying to avoid an 0-2 series deficit here. LeBron James, because my guy across from me. And look, there was a time I really loved LeBron James. There was a time I did, and then I didn't. And I want no parts of LeBron James. But with that Warriors and Lakers rumored trade came out, proposal, whatever. The Warriors are looking at LeBron James, and Lakers said no, or blah, blah, blah. Do you see an avenue where LeBron James would join forces with Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors? And if so, how successful would that be? Because I don't think that's still enough for a championship to get through the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, it could work only because of Steph, I think. I mean, and I've always said this, he's the most unselfish player maybe in NBA history because he allows Durant to come into his team. I think Steph's a better player than Durant, and he allows him still to be called the best player in the sport and kind of get all the attention from the media. So, like, I think Steph could make it work. Now, can LeBron play in a system that Steph's been playing in where the ball just moves nonstop? LeBron's a great passer, but he doesn't make his teammates, in my estimation, necessarily that much better because there's a lot of ball pounding as well. He doesn't get the criticism that Harden or Luka does, and he certainly doesn't pound it as much as those guys, but he's still very ball dominant, and I think that takes away from some of his teammates. So I don't know if he'd fit into that system. He's smart enough where I'm sure he would adapt, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that, I mean, is that fun for you guys? Is that
Hell yeah.
It's not fun for me, Justin.
Yes, it is.
I do the pre- and post-game show for the Warriors. I would wear it, and I'm sure the Warriors are not happy with me saying this right now, but I want to avoid that.
I disagree.
So that would be another podcast, and I got podcast-itis. No, I don't want to deal with that, Justin. I really don't.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, listen, bottom line is, like, I love Steph because it's about basketball. I love Jokic right now because it's about basketball.
Yep.
It's not the extra stuff. You're hosting a post-game show for the Warriors for the last, and I guess you got Draymond there, so it hasn't been about basketball. But if you have Draymond and LeBron, it's never going to be about the actual game. It's never going to be about the sport.
Justin, you're on fire, man.
Let me just make it clear. Bonte speaks for himself and portions of the fan base.
I'm speaking for myself.
Not for me.
Yeah.
I'll take LeBron
for me too,
all
by
day.
The way, so there you go.
I'll take LeBron all day. All day.
Well, he's going to throw. If you're a Steph guy, he's going to throw Steph under the bus at some point because it can never be LeBron's fault.
No, it could never be LeBron's fault. Last night it was the referee's fault, not the fact that they blew a 20-point lead.
He was brilliant in the fourth quarter.
He was fine.
He was great. He was fantastic. I mean, that's the thing that's incredible is like Anthony Davis also probably played, arguably the two best games of his career, certainly the best half of his career last night, and he still wasn't even the best big on the floor, which is insane.
Wow, Justin, good stuff. Man.
Man.
We're gonna keep in touch during these playoffs because we're still tapping in, despite the Warriors not being in it for the first time in a long time. But man, what a night last night, Justin. Thanks for the time as always, brother.
All right, thanks for having me on, fellas.
Good stuff.
Anytime. Sirius XM NBA Radio with Eddie Johnson. He's one of my favorites.
Love his
voice. That is a go-to show.